The Bridge of Autumn Leaves. The small town of Elmsworth was known for its cobblestone streets, lantern-lit evenings, and most of all, the wooden bridge that crossed the river. Every autumn, the bridge would be covered in a carpet of golden leaves, and it became a place where countless people had carved their names into the wood, leaving behind pieces of their stories. Clara had grown up in Elmsworth. She loved the bridge more than anything else. It was where she would sit and sketch the passing seasons in her notebook. At 22, she was quiet, thoughtful, and often lost in her own world of charcoal drawings and poems that no one else ever read. One late afternoon in October, Clara sat on the bridge sketching when a shadow fell across her notebook. Looking up, she saw a young man, tall, with dark hair and a worn leather jacket, watching the river below. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, his voice carrying a calm warmth. Clara hesitated, then nodded. "Go ahead." He sat beside her, not looking at her, but at the water. For a while, the only sounds were the rushing river and the crisp rustle of leaves overhead. Finally, he glanced at her sketchbook. "You draw?" "Yes," Clara replied softly. "They're good," he said with a small smile. "Better than I could ever do." She blushed and closed the book quickly. "Thanks. I guess." His name was Daniel. He had just moved into town, working at his uncle's small bookstore on the corner of Maple Street. Unlike Clara, who had lived her whole life in Elmsworth, Daniel had been to many cities, carrying stories of crowded trains, late-night cafes, and strangers he had met along the way. Over the weeks, they kept meeting on the bridge. Sometimes it was by accident, sometimes on purpose, though neither admitted the latter. Clara would bring her sketchbook, Daniel would bring a book of poems or a guitar, and together they would share quiet afternoons. It was Daniel who first broke the silence one evening when the sky was painted pink with the setting sun. "Do you believe in love at first sight?" he asked. Clara laughed nervously. "That's something people in movies say." "Maybe," Daniel said, his eyes on her. "But sometimes, when you meet someone, you just know." Clara's heart raced, though she said nothing. She only drew faster, her hand trembling slightly as she sketched the bridge. As autumn deepened, their bond grew. Clara showed him her secret sketches, portraits of the bridge, of sunsets, of fleeting glances she had captured of him without his knowing. Daniel played her songs on his guitar, his voice low and raw, telling stories of his past and the longing for a place to belong. But one chilly November evening, Daniel told her something that shook her world. "My uncle's bookstore isn't doing well. I might have to leave Elmsworth after winter." The words felt like a gust of cold wine through Clara's chest. She tried to smile, but her eyes betrayed her. "I see," she whispered. That's life, I guess." Daniel reached for her hand. "Clara, if I go, I'll still carry this place with me. I'll carry you with me." Her heart ached, but she nodded. That night, when Daniel walked her home, the silence between them was heavier than ever before. The first snow fell a week later. Clara returned to the bridge every day, hoping Daniel would be there. Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. Each time he came, their moments felt more fragile, more precious, like snowflakes melting too quickly on warm skin. On Christmas Eve, the town gathered by the river to light lanterns. Clara stood on the bridge, holding her lantern, when Daniel appeared beside her. He placed his lantern on the water, then turned to her. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, his breath visible in the cold night air. "But I know this, no matter where I go, no matter how far, I'll come back here. To you. To this bridge." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She set her lantern down, watching it drift beside his, two lights floating together down the dark river. She whispered, "Then I'll wait." And so, beneath the snowflakes and the glow of lanterns, they shared their first kiss, soft, trembling, but filled with promise. The winter passed, and true to his words, Daniel left when spring arrived. The bridge once again became Clara's place of waiting, her sketches growing into a journal of seasons passing by. She carved their names into the wood, not as a memory of loss, but as a vow. Years later, when autumn returned, Clara stood once more on the bridge, sketchbook in hand. The leaves swirled around her, golden and endless. Then she heard footsteps, familiar, steady, coming closer. Clara, Daniel's voice called, warm as the first time. She turned, and he was there, carrying nothing but his guitar and the same smile that had changed her life years ago. And just like that, the bridge of autumn leaves had kept its promise. Beneath the silver moon, on the outskirts of a quiet coastal town stood an old lighthouse. Though its beam no longer guided ships, the place had become a quiet refuge for dreamers and wanderers. Among them was Evelyn, a young painter who moved into the small cottage nearby, seeking inspiration after years of city life had drained her spirit. Every evening, Evelyn would carry her easel and brushes to the lighthouse cliffs. She painted the horizon, the restless ocean, and the sky that seemed to change moods with every hour. But no matter how many sunsets she captured, her canvases felt incomplete, like something essential was missing. One stormy evening, as she struggled to keep her easel steady, she heard a voice behind her. "Not the easiest night to paint, is it?" She turned to find Daniel, a local sailor recently returned from long voyages abroad. His clothes were still damp from the rain, his hair windswept, but his eyes carried warmth like a harbor light. He helped her gather her supplies before the rain ruined them completely, and from that night on, their paths intertwined. Days turned into weeks. Daniel would meet her at the cliffs, sometimes bringing fresh coffee, sometimes simply standing beside her in silence as she painted. He told her stories of the sea, of storms and stars, of distant ports and the loneliness that clung to sailors far from home. Evelyn, in return, painted parts of his stories, capturing emotions he couldn't put into words. As autumn settled in, their bond deepened. Evelyn realized her paintings had changed. The sky seemed brighter, the waves gentler, the colors warmer. She had unknowingly begun painting Daniel into every canvas, not his face, but his presence, the way he made her world feel less heavy. One evening, under a silver moon, Daniel finally spoke what had long lingered in his heart. "I've sailed across oceans, Evelyn. I've seen skies you wouldn't believe, but nothing has ever felt like this. Being here, with you, feels like coming home." Her eyes softened, tears glimmering in the moonlight. "And I've been painting all my life, searching for something I couldn't name. Now I know, it was you. You're the missing color." He stepped closer, the ocean's wind wrapping around them, and kissed her as the waves crashed below. It was a kiss that carried promises unspoken, of tomorrows they hadn't yet lived but already belonged to. Years later, the lighthouse became more than a forgotten relic. Together, they restored it, turning it into an art gallery and a